So, welcome everyone. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to host this tonight. My name is Paige Mitchell, and I live in Denver, Colorado. I'm a board certified coach, and my education and training is in the counseling world. And since I transitioned into life coaching and motivational speaking, it's really been a huge and pivotal transition in my life to practice self care and really work with clients who also value their own needs and value their self worth. So, if you do have a question about me, about my background, feel free to shoot me a direct message on Facebook. I'm happy to connect with you. Before we begin, I did just want to talk a little bit about some housekeeping for this workshop. So, I know there's a little delay in the comments, but feel free to, write down your takeaways. Write down some things for yourself in the comments. And when I am finished, I will respond back, of course, and reply. But keep the conversation going, right? I also want to talk about note taking. So make sure to have a journal available, or if you are someone that likes to type, have a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word available. I'm going to be asking you some questions and prompts so you can address these in the moment. And I want to give you some tangible things to walk away with. So please just make sure that you have something to take notes. Throughout this workshop, if there's something that I mention that really resonates with you, I encourage you to whip out your phone, actually, and you can either take a picture of literally me talking, you could take a picture of what you are journaling on. But the reason why I say this is because, first off, this serves a purpose of really engaging with the community, right? We are learning more about each other. We're learning what we're working on and ways to support each other. So having that evidence proof of a picture can help support that. And the second reason is to hold yourself accountable for the work that you're doing. By having a picture and, posting it either to the group or put it on your Instagram story and tag me, like whatever you do with that picture, you are showing that extra accountability of I'm working on myself. This is what I want to change, and you're going for it. So, little random request, but I encourage you to, if you want to take a picture, go for it, and make sure that you post so we can support you. And so this talk is going to be roughly 30 to 40 minutes. It's definitely I'm not gonna talk an hour long. So I'll just monitor time as well. But when I'm finished, I will just stick around, wait for the comments to catch up. And if you have any questions, I can answer them on the spot. If you need any coaching or anything, happy to do that as well. So let's get started with the holidays. I think what's funny is every single year, like clockwork, we have the same energy and the same emotional response towards the holidays. We all have an opinion about it. Maybe you are dreading it, like, ugh, it's the holidays. Or maybe you're completely the opposite and you're like, yay, it's the holidays. I'm so excited. Maybe this is your favorite time of year and you really light up during this time. Because everyone has a different response and everyone has different challenges during this time. I know coming up in America, it's Thanksgiving in a couple days. And I really want the purpose of this talk to be any holiday. It does not matter. But whether you are, watching this video before the holidays or even you watched it after, I want you to walk away with just more self-awareness of yourself. Overall, what are the things that trigger me during the holidays? What do I want to walk away with? And really, at the end of the day, the whole purpose of this is to give yourself grace, right? To be kind and loving to yourself, as this is the self-love group. So we're just increasing our self-awareness around the holiday season. So when we think about the holidays, I actually did a poll on my other social media platforms, and I asked what are some common challenges that people are facing with. And, before I review and summarize that with you, I did want to share the very first thing that I want you to do is take out your journal or make your note, and I want you to watch Athena's boundaries video. She did that, I don't know if it was a couple weeks ago, but that is going to be a huge, huge part of not only my talk and my workshop today, but just for you in general in your life, but especially with the holidays. So make sure to re-watch that video. I would encourage you to watch it maybe before you go to that holiday get together or before the family dinner. That way it's fresh in your brain. So please go watch that. And throughout this workshop, we're also going to be talking about different ways to manage your anxiety and maybe learn some more in the moment coping techniques. So, like I said, the first thing we're going to do is write down, okay, watch Athena's boundary video. Done. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a brain dump activity, right? So, we're going to take out our journal. Mine here. She turned her dreams into plans. This was a gift from my business coach a while back, and it's almost done. I have like 2 more pages left. I'm excited to finish it. Anyway, take out your journal, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to write out all the fears you have for this upcoming holiday season. Okay, these are all the things, the fears and insecurities. So I'll give you some examples based on the poll results that I got. So, seeing your in-laws, not having alone time, always having family members commenting on your body, the impacts of seasonal affective disorder, being overwhelmed with family drama, dealing with family members who have a short temper, not knowing what to buy someone for gifts. Those were all the common challenges that I heard. So if any of those, were relevant to you, write some of those down. Write down that list. So that's step number 1 is write down all your fears and insecurities, all the things you don't want to happen, or maybe they happened last year or 5 years ago and you're just like, ugh, I don't like this, right? Step 2, we're going to do the opposite. Okay, we're going to write a list of what I want to happen instead. So some examples could be, I want to have a good time. I want to feel relaxed. I want to eat whatever I want at dinner without feeling judged. So what is on your list of what I want to happen instead? And that could be the complete opposite. I usually go for the complete opposites, but that's the step 2. Write that list of what you want for this holiday season. Step 3, after you wrote that, if you're watching this replay, make sure to pause the video. But moving on to step 3, what do I want to focus on or create more of, right? Because usually what we focus on, we naturally create more of, right? If I focus on feeling good, every action I take is towards feeling good, right? If I'm only focusing on how shitty I feel, that's just going to perpetuate, right? So step 3, what do I want to focus on? Write a list of what does light you up. What would be the impact if those things came true of the things I wanted? What value would it serve if I focus on what I want to create? What would be the impact? At the end of the day, what is in my control that I can focus on and want more of? So, of course, we want our family members to stop being a pain in the ass, right? But that is an external part. So what is in my control that I want to focus on? So step 4, what is one committed action towards getting that life or that outcome that you want with this holiday season? So if you could pick one, maybe you have top 3 things of this is what I want. Let's just say, for example, I want to feel more relaxed. So What's worked for you in the past? What has been some times you have been relaxed? Are there tangible things that you have done? What does it feel like when you're relaxed? Can you channel that in? What do I already do that makes me relaxed? And maybe say that's a bath, or is it taking a walk? Is it possible to take a bath or go for a walk before you go to your family event? You might have to get a little creative. Maybe you don't have that luxury of taking a bath right before dinner or, whatever it is that makes you relaxed. Can you do it afterwards? Can you do it after that stressful family dinner or that get together? What could be some things that you do enjoy? Yeah, I'm seeing in the comment, Alina says, being in the moment. Joy. I love that. So in summary, right, with this journal activity, if you will, write down all those fears and insecurities. Get it out of your head onto paper. Secondly, make a list of what you do want to create, what we would love to happen. And then 3, what is it that I want to narrow in and focus on? What would the impact of that be? What can I personally do? What is in my control of all of these? And then step 4, what is one specific tangible goal I can do? And if you need any help around goal setting, make sure it is a SMART goal, SMART, which is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. The more detailed you can be with your goal and set you up for success, the higher probability it'll happen. Okay? Not always, but the intention is there of this is what I would like to happen and this is the action steps I'm taking. So moving on from that journal prompt to now a conversation about people pleasing. I call myself a recovering people pleaser. I also call myself a recovering perfectionist. Lots of P's. And I say recovering because people pleasing my entire life has been a core identity and really like personality trait. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying there's no judgment with it. But if we are focusing in this group around self-love and prioritizing our own needs, people pleasing during the holidays is a real fucking thing. Okay? By the way, I cuss. Hope that's okay. So, people pleasing. We are neglecting our own emotions and needs to manage someone else's. We're not feeling fulfilled in either our own safety or belonging, or we're not feeling loved. And so people pleasing really comes from a protective trauma response to an environment that is threatening. Like, oh shit, I have to people please because I'm in danger here. Like our brain thinks as if we're being chased by a tiger. It's the same exact anxiety and emotions of like, I gotta people please. Sometimes it's not even conscious. It could be subconscious. Sometimes it is a very deliberate, I know I'm people pleasing and I know I'm doing this when I don't want to. Okay. So if any of this whole section that I'm covering, you identify as a people pleaser, and that may be something that you don't want this holiday season, I encourage you to, to jot down about that, right? Like jot that down of what that means to me. What does people pleasing look like? What are some examples that I do? Okay. So the last thing I'll say about it, it really is just the psychology behind it. It's an attempt to get people to like us for several different reasons. One could be, I will people please because so I won't get hurt. Whatever that looks like, literally physical or mental hurt. It's to protect me from danger if that arises. I people please so that they won't leave me. So I won't feel abandoned, right? So I would say people pleasing is a quality. So really just check in with yourself and your body and reconnect to I am safe. I am not in danger if I say no, or sometimes if I say yes to something. Because people pleasing isn't always like saying no. Sometimes it's saying yes to things. So pay attention to your body. Put your hand over your heart. And that next time that event of I can make a choice to either do this because of people pleasing reasons or do this because I actually really want to. I would just challenge you to close your eyes and sit with that and just double check. Am I saying yes because I truly want to do this? I want this to come to fruition. This is a part of my value. I want to say yes to this. Or can I have the courage to say no? And you do. You do have the courage to say no. No is also a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Think also about the consequences if you say yes to something that you really don't want to do. If I continue to say yes to the things that I don't want to do, what are the repercussions of my actions? Am I going to feel burnt out? Am I going to feel overwhelmed? Probably. It may build up over time. I might feel resentful. Okay? So it's a huge check-in, and it's a reminder. That's why I'm saying I'm a recovering people pleaser, because I slip totally. Like, just for convenience, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, whatever, just to keep the peace. But I got to check myself sometimes. So I really encourage, if that's something that you identify with, if anything I've said triggered you in some way, in a way that you want to work on it, a huge part I will definitely yell from the rooftops is that's a great piece to talk about in therapy. If you're already in therapy, if you're going to go find a therapist, the root causes of people pleasing, please go see a therapist. I highly encourage that. So just in summary, to all my people pleasers out there, just journal. Why do you think you do it? Who are you protecting yourself from? And, if anything, be courageous and say no. So the next topic that I want to talk about is boundaries. Very small. It's not going to be in detailed like Athena's boundary video. But let's see here. She just has really great examples. She has that amazing garden metaphor. She just gives you really good journal prompts and things to ask yourself and why boundaries are so important. But what I want to talk about in this section and why boundaries relate to the holiday season is practicing some I statements, right? So this is more taking action and that empowerment piece. So here's how it's going to work. So take out your journal and we're going to write down just make some bullet points of this, okay? I feel blank. The next bullet, when you or when this happens, blank. Because blank, I need blank. So it should just be four bullet points. And I'll just share with you an example. So I feel sad and overwhelmed when I come home for the holidays because there's a lot of unresolved tension in our family. I need to spend a peaceful, insert holiday, on my own this year. So we are practicing stating how we feel, giving reason. You can justify it. You also don't have to, but it gives the other person some context. And then flat out, this is what I need. This is what I need from you. This is what I need for myself. So some examples of I statements and just things that come up for the holidays. So I have about 4 examples here. Is it's okay to not go home for the holidays. And I say this with a smile because if I told my family, hey, I'm actually like not coming, bye, like, holy shit, the uproar, right? Fortunately, I do want to see my family, so this doesn't really apply to me. However, I can understand if you literally saying to your family, I'm not going to spend the holidays with you, causes so much anxiety, or like, oh my God, I'm going to get disowned by saying that. It's okay. Here are some examples why even saying that you don't want to spend time with the holidays, why you should, and then also just some I statements that support this. So Your bottom line, your mental health and self-care is so much more important than showing up to things that you don't want to do. If you do not take care of yourself, how on earth are you expect to serve and help other people? You literally cannot serve your highest potential when you're not valuing and listening to your own advice and, really being true to your own word. So if going home for the holidays is a very, very passionate, no, I can't, then fucking don't. Don't do it. So some examples of what you could say. I will be staying at a hotel when I come home for insert holiday this year. I would love to carve out a day to spend together, just the two of us. So you're meeting them halfway. You're not maybe attending the whole family get together, but you're meeting with one person or meeting with a couple people individually. Another thing you could say is it's really important for me that I meet my need for alone time. That said, time with you is really important to me. Can we work together to find a balance that works for both of us? So you're compromising. Or maybe you show up to the family dinner for just a couple hours versus 8 hours, right? Get creative with how you want to prioritize your time with the holidays. Some other examples of boundary setting is, it's okay to need alone time if you're visiting. That's kind of earlier what I said about like not going and being by yourself, but just having the alone time when you're visiting. So saying, I feel overwhelmed by the nonstop festivities when I visit for this holiday because I'm used to having a lot of time to myself at home. I need one day where I can be alone so I can rest and recharge. So basically, you're excusing yourself from the situation. And, even in that moment, you can take a walk outside for 10 minutes. I know it's like probably freezing cold, maybe wherever you live. But saying like, I'll be right back. Or I'm just going to go to the bathroom, collect yourself, practice a grounding technique, which we'll cover at the end. And then return, right? Like we got to shift in the moment when things aren't feeling aligned, right? So having that awareness of, I'm feeling a lot of resistance here. How can I ground myself? Do I have to return back or can I escape, right? Like you are constantly evaluating your own needs and boundaries here, okay? They're not going to be the same for everyone. Maybe your tolerance level has changed too. Maybe you can tolerate a lot of shit with your family that maybe 5 years ago you couldn't or you didn't, whatever. And also with like the pandemic and everything, maybe this year is different. Everyone is in their own mental health space right now. Everyone's still like recovering from the pandemic. So just know like all of this is not a projection on you. It's just how do you want to show up? How do you want to take care of yourself for that? A couple other examples before I move on is if you are hosting a family get together or a party for the holidays, the I statement of I feel stressed when I host the family, blah, 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 because it's a ton of work to cook the food, mingle with the guests, and clean up afterwards. I need someone to help me clean up when the guests start to leave. So we're addressing how we feel. We're asking for help. And if asking for help is hard for you, ask yourself, what's the repercussions if I don't ask for help? My energy is going to shoot. I'm going to be crabby. And I'm not going to be really fun to hang out with. And people aren't going to want to talk to me. So do yourself a favor. If we're preventing the problem right now that I'm probably going to feel really exhausted if I'm hosting this, how can you ask for help now? Right? Not reassign, but ask for help in this moment. The last example I have is it's okay to disengage in controversial conversations. Um, an I statement for this. I feel uncomfortable when you talk about politics over dinner because it creates an atmosphere of tension. Let's change the conversation to say something less controversial so we can enjoy one another's company. So I know this one's a little wordy, but you can also like make it your own words. All of these I statements that I'm giving you, please make sure it's your language and what makes sense for you. Even just saying, talking about this topic is difficult for me. Can we change the conversation? I love to hear how work's been, or I'd love to hear how little Susie's doing. Like, change it up. And people might get uncomfortable, but they don't know how uncomfortable you've been feeling all of these years either. So part of boundaries is like just rolling it off and stating your needs. And if the other person doesn't respect that, that's on them, right? And that's all you could do. I want to move on to this topic because it's really important, and I want to make sure that I have a lot on this topic, so I want to just keep going through this. Let's see here. Okay, so body image and diet related. Okay, little quick background. My education and training is from not only graduate school, but I worked at an eating disorder hospital for over 5 years, and I have direct experience with families and patients with their recovery and with treatment planning around their eating disorder. So I've literally heard everything. There's nothing that really I haven't heard or seen in that demographic, and it's really fucking sad. And so I do have a lot of passion for calling shit out in the moment. When a creepy uncle or bitchy cousin makes a comment on your body or what you're eating, these examples that I'm about to give are pretty, they're pretty in your face and they're pretty direct. So whether you have an eating disorder or not, that's not the issue. It doesn't matter if you do or not. What matters is it's not okay for other people to comment on your body or what you're eating. It's none of their fucking business. So I'm very clear in what's okay and what's not okay, because diet culture has fucked us all up. And if health is a value of yours, that is just for you, and that's no one else to judge. So if someone's making some comments about your body or food, here's some things, maybe write this down in your journal if this resonates with you. So I'm not open to talking about this with you. That's it. I'm not open about it. Make it clear you're not interested about hearing the other person's opinion. Another thing that you could do maybe on a one-on-one, when you criticize my body, it really hurts my feelings and it makes it difficult for me to enjoy spending time with you. And like I said, it may make the other person feel uncomfortable, but it might help them understand better how their comments over time has been affecting you and how it's being received. So, and another option, you don't have to engage at all. You don't have to change the subject. You can literally just leave. That is a pretty abrasive tactic, but I've definitely done it. I've just left the room. You don't really owe anyone explanations. And this can be any comments. This could be, you look so great. Wow, you lost so much weight. None of their business. Oh my God, don't have another second helping of pie. None of their business, right? So whatever the end of the spectrum, it doesn't matter. But respond what makes the most sense for you so that this shit doesn't keep repeating. We need to catch this shit in action, okay? When you personally have maybe I shouldn't eat that, and then you like exercise the next day because of shame or fear or guilt, when that happens, it's important for us to do the opposite of shame or fear or guilt. And so take that freaking second helping of pie. I mean, enjoy the time with your family and friends. Enjoy the food that was laid out to you as a gift. Be forgiving of your body. If I take this extra pie, I'm not, insert negative self-talk here. I'm not judging myself, right? Don't restrict yourself or wait until the day to indulge when no one's watching. Like, just give yourself some grace. And then also, I wanted to bring up for those that are maybe in recovery with substance abuse, right? There's going to be a lot of drinking going around. If someone says, oh, we'll just have one more drink, nothing will happen if you have another one, or hey, it's a special event and don't worry about it, like something you can say in the moment is, hey, I might have some later, thank you, or no thanks, I'm good with what I have, or thank you, I'm really happy with my current choices. So you're just setting it right there. Thanks, I acknowledge, but I'm good, I'm chilling, right? And if they come back to you of like, but I made this just for you, or is there something wrong with my cooking? Like, they're fucking prying. Like, they're just trying to get you, whether they do it consciously or not. They're just trying to pull you in. So don't be aware of that. Be aware of like, why are they pushing this so hard? So instead, I don't mean to offend you, and I appreciate you offering me this item, but right now that's not something I'm going to eat. I'm going to enjoy our time together, and I'm super grateful to be here. Or, thank you, I'm grateful for this meal, and I'm good with what I have. Maybe I'll have some later. Like, divert the subject, right? You can do that. Have you lost weight? Thanks, but I would appreciate if you did not make comments on my body. So again, there's so many different ways you can approach this. I hopefully gave you enough different sayings and expressions that would help in that moment. And just remember, as I wrap up this section, know that other people's opinions are not your truth. Okay? Others' issues around food and drinking and what you eat, is they are projecting their shit on you, and that's not your problem to solve. So know that you do not need to justify or explain your choice to eat or not eat something. You definitely can. I gave you some examples, but at the end of the day, you don't owe anybody anything. So I'm gonna leave that there, and then we'll just keep moving. I know I have 5 minutes left. I'm gonna crush this. I'm gonna crush this video for you in 40 minutes. Okay. The top things that you might get asked at dinner or the get together. So this is another journal activity. Take this out, and I want you to write down the top maybe 3 things that you anticipate someone's going to comment about or ask you about at this dinner. Maybe you haven't seen your family in a couple years because of the pandemic, or maybe you're going to meet new people. Okay. So what we're doing is we're writing out what we're anticipating that we're going to get asked, and we're going to make a plan. So after you wrote out those top things, whether that's, why are you still single? Or why aren't you having a baby yet? Or what happened to that date you brought last year? It's just going back to setting your boundaries and making sure that if that subject's being brought up, how do you want to manage that? How do you want to answer or not answer that? So write out an elevator pitch of how you want to respond. That way you'll feel more prepared, right? And I'm giving you all permission to also not respond either, right? If like you're getting asked about it, you don't have to respond. But if that would be helpful for you, if you kind of are having anxiety because you're anticipating someone's going to ask you about your career or ask you about your relationships, what would it be like to journal that out right now with some options of an elevator pitch? That way you're prepared. It's done. You already know what you're going to say, or you're not going to say. And it'll just ease your anxiety a little bit by coming prepared with some of those. So, let's see. The last thing that I will touch on is managing your anxiety and doing some grounding exercises. So, rather than, because anxiety is like the top emotion when it comes to holiday season, rather than pushing your anxiety out the door, being like, I don't want that, get out of here, anxiety, we're going to practice bringing it to the table. We're going to write down in our journal, if anxiety is present, we're going to notice it. We're going to name it. We're going to validate it. And we're going to engage in a grounding activity. So saying something like, oh, hi, anxiety. I see you. I feel you in my chest and my shoulders. And it makes sense you're visiting because being around big groups of people is really stressful for me. So now I'm going to walk or step outside for a minute to just ground. And I know you'll fade away because eventually you do. Talking to anxiety as if it was another person will really help. In therapy, it's called diffusion, where we're just separating it. It's giving your emotions and yourself a little bit more space so that you are not anxiety. Anxiety is a part of you. So what would a conversation, write this in your journal. What would a conversation with anxiety look like? If anxiety was a person, how would we make sure that they are feeling heard and validated? And how do I create an action plan if my anxiety spikes? Probably not having a shit ton of fucking wine is going to help. Like, sorry. I know people use wine as like a coping skill. I mean, I'm not judging you, but just be cautious, because if you're especially around family members and you have too much wine or whatever, I'll just say be cautious of that. So we're going to work on other exercises for grounding. And lastly, before we move on to grounding, I'm just going to say, if you're someone who's prone to have anxiety attacks, or let's see, what was I going to say? Anxiety attacks, or you like, make sure that when you're in the house, you know where the doors are, you know where the bathroom is. Like, that's just something to be aware of, is like, where is my exit? Okay. And then also, if you're bringing a date or someone with you, a friend, telling them a little bit of like, hey, I have a little bit of anxiety with these types of get-togethers. Or if so and so starts talking, like, maybe make a signal like, hey, the next time I rub my shoulder, can you please I don't know, start a conversation or something. Like, get creative with it, especially if someone's with you and like helping you. But yeah, I would say definitely make an action plan of how you want to manage your anxiety, and then also create an escape plan if needed. Okay, grounding exercises. Ready? So we're going to write in our journal just a couple different tips that are more in the moment if we don't have the ability to take a walk, or we don't have an ability to listen to a podcast or whatever. So before I say anything, I do highly encourage downloading the Insight Timer app. It's a really great tool for meditations. So maybe even on the drive over to the holiday thing, or, like right in the morning, like something to already ground you and set the tone for the day would be really helpful. And Insight Timer is cool because you can adjust the times. But yeah, just some type of meditation or relaxing state the day of. So we're at the person's house, or we're at the family get together, and we're starting to have some anxiety. One really great grounding exercise that I love to do is the 4 square breathing. And so it's also known as box breathing. but you're essentially inhaling and exhaling till the count of 4. You pause, and then so you inhale for 4, pause, exhale, and then we're just creating a box. So we're doing this essentially 4 times. And I like to close my eyes and just imagine like my breathing is filling up like a box space. You can also Google the 4 square breathing, and they have diagrams. You can also look at a YouTube video and have it as a guided meditation. But just practice this type of breathing, because instantly your whole body will just it'll shut down. Not shut down, but it will calm down to more just a basic state. Another thing that you could do is called the Big Five. So this is where you're engaging in we're engaging our different senses. So say we're at, again, the dinner table, or you're on the couch or whatever, and you're starting to like, okay, like I'm getting really anxious, like whatever it is for you. 5, we're going to acknowledge 5 things that you see around you. So making sure your eyes are open and you're focusing on, okay, I see that picture over there. I see so-and-so talking over there. Like, have your eyes wander around, because we're trying to focus outside of our head. We're trying to get back into the present moment. So 5 things you see, 4 things that you can touch around you. So whether that's literally my butt is in this velvet chair, my hand is touching this fork, whatever it is, right? And then 3 is things you hear. So I hear, Christmas music in the background. I hear these people having a conversation, right? Whatever. I hear the fan on the ceiling, like whatever it is. And then 2 things you can smell. I mean, if this is a holiday dinner, that might be pretty easy, but at least we are really detecting our nose, like what is around us? What can I smell? And 1 is one thing you can taste. Again, if you're obviously at a dinner table, that's being very present of what can I actively taste, or if you have, a drink or something like that, that's what you can taste. But even if you don't have that, even if you don't have food or drinks present, just like going back to your tongue and naming, calling, identifying a taste. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is really easy for grounding. It's focusing on the present. So again, have your eyes open. Make sure that you can see around you. And then, like any other skill with either the square breathing or these Big 5, maybe do it and practice it a couple times before that big event or the time you're going to see your family or whatever, because the more we practice it in a calm state, the easier it's going to be when you're in that high state of anxiety, because you've done this before. So we're just repeating these tips. And then the last thing I'll say before I wrap up with these grounding activities, ask for help, right? Like, teach a friend or teach a family member any of these grounding techniques too, and why you need to use it. And if it's someone you trust, they can remind you when to use it, right? Like, if you are starting to lose the present moment, for example, they may say something like, I think you might want to do some grounding now, or can you describe to me what I'm wearing, or where are you right now, right? Like, if there's someone you can trust and confide in with that, I highly encourage that as well, to have someone else on your team so that you're not doing this all alone. So that is it for the mental health tips for the holidays. I hope that you have a great holiday this coming month, next month, whenever you're replaying this video. I hope that we can keep the conversation going as well, whether there's tips that I said or maybe things that you've learned along the way. Please write in the comments. Also, just know that you deserve so much calmness and peace and joy throughout the whole year, right? I know this is specifically for the holidays, but while this is a particular sensitive time, just really honor yourself and know that your needs are valid. And I'm more than happy to carry on this discussion with you. Outside of this group, you can feel free to, become my friend on Facebook or send me a message on Instagram at paigemitchell.coach. Happy to talk to you if you don't feel comfortable talking in a group setting. I'm more than happy to chat with you one-on-one. But otherwise, I'm just so grateful that you showed up to this, and I hope it was helpful. And I'm wishing all of you a very safe holiday season. And I will stay a little bit to see if anyone else has questions popping up.